So DNA has a cousin named RNA. All right, this is Norris Teaches Science, and starring Mr. Norris, Biology Edition video still, and today we are going to talk about RNA structure. RNA differs from DNA, so we're going to have to cover it before we can cover anything else that deals with DNA and RNA. So by the end of this video, I can differentiate, yes, I'm using a big word there, differentiate RNA from DNA over structure and function. So what is RNA? It's nucleic acid, just like DNA. Means it's composed of nucleotides, just like DNA. It's single-stranded, not like DNA. Remember, DNA is double-stranded. And RNA is located in the nucleus and in the cytoplasm, while DNA is only located in the nucleus. Now, the nucleotide structure, it's still the phosphate, it's still the sugar, and it's still the base. So let's talk a little bit more. Purpose of RNA. The purpose of RNA is that it has information on how to make proteins or perform protein synthesis. Remember, DNA has the instructions to do it, but instructions are all good. RNA has how to do it, like the actual step-by-step process. So, generalized structure of RNA. RNA is made of nucleotides. This time the sugar is ribose, not deoxyribose, ribose. That's why it's called RNA. It has a phosphate, it has bases. It has adenine, which will give A, cytosine, which will do C, guanine, which is G, and this time it has uracil, which is U. It doesn't have T. DNA has T, RNA has U. It's single-stranded compared to DNA. The sugar and phosphates are still going to make the backbone of it, and the base is still attached to the sugars like in DNA. You can kind of see in the picture over here, one side is DNA, the other side is RNA, and you can kind of see the difference between the two. Main difference is the strands and the bases. So there are three types of RNA. You have messenger RNA, which we abbreviate mRNA, tRNA, which is transfer RNA, and ribosomal RNA, which is rRNA. And their types differ because of the functions they have in the whole process of protein synthesis. We're going to have two videos about the process of protein synthesis, one on a process called transcription and then another on a process called translation. But just know that they all three play a factor in each step. So a little bit more about messenger RNA. Messenger RNA is responsible for carrying the message from DNA to the ribosome. Means it brings the information of how to do it from DNA to the ribosome. Because if you don't remember, ribosomes make proteins or do protein synthesis. So DNA is in the nucleus. mRNA talks to the DNA in the nucleus, goes out of the nucleus, goes to the ribosome somewhere in the cell. Transfer RNA, tRNA, its job is to locate the correct amino acid in the cytoplasm and bring it to the ribosome during translation. Now, I have a question. Why would it have to bring amino acids to the ribosome to make proteins? Do you give up? It's because amino acids are the monomer of proteins. So amino acids make up proteins. So you link those amino acids together, you get your protein. Ribosomal RNA, rRNA, is basically the ribosome. It looks just like the word. It just takes some ribosomes, jumble it up to form the ribosome. During the process, mRNA will stretch across the rRNA. tRNA will come and bring those amino acids that match up with the mRNA, and the rRNA is just where you do it all at. It's like the workbench. Now, a little comparison. Now, I would pause this video right here on this information and I would copy this down. Very important slide to help you study between RNA and DNA. So RNA contains the sugar ribose, DNA contains the sugar deoxyribose. RNA is one-stranded, DNA is two-stranded. The bases in RNA are adenine, cytosine, guanine, and uracil, while the bases in DNA are adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine. And this is a little bit about RNA. We're going to see how DNA and RNA work together to make proteins in the next couple of videos. But I really hope you learned something. And this is Mr. Norris, and he is signing out.